Hello, everybody. This is Attorney Augustus Corbett, aka the Minister of Justice, and with me I have,
Attorney Chloe Corbett, aka the Duchess of Justice.
and together we are the Defiant Lawyers. We provide legal analysis of trending politics, politicians, personalities, and pop culture to empower you with the information you need to defy this unjust legal system. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Also, if you would, like, share, and comment. We have a blockbuster show for you. Right after this introduction, we're going to get into it.
That Corbin and Corbett legal team fighting for the rights of the people. That father-daughter team investing in the youth when the system ain't treating them equal. Providing truth for our people, we able to reach them. So anytime you get accused for a crime and Lord knows you ain't do it, we here to get you through it. Exemplifying prudence and glorifying God, making sure you're compensated for other people's doings. Our vision is to be one of the best. We're small enough to focus on your matter throughout the neighborhoods of Dallas. Working constantly and making sure your rights are protected. A firm team of lawyers, aggressive, effective. The team that has your back in the courtroom. Two well-spoken black lawyers in the courtroom. Investing time and resources when it's evident that you were treated wrong. Now you walking out of Dallas courtroom with a settlement. Corbin and Corbett, the father-daughter legal tag team that has your back in the courtroom. Our purpose is simple. To obtain a favorable outcome for each client and glorify Christ in all we do. Our vision is to be one of the best and most...
All right, let's get into it. We're going to jump right into today's show. We have a power-packed show. We got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about an incident involving Terrell Owens. We want to talk about the Brittany Griner case. We've talked about Brittany Griner's case already a couple of times, Chloe, but we're going to get into it again today because there's some new developments. We're going to talk about some exciting developments in the Breonna Taylor case. And if time permits, we're going to talk about this Alex Jones debacle. It is a pure debacle. So if time permits, we're going to get into that as well. But before we do, please, Chloe, say hello to the legal rebels.
What is up, people? Thank you all so much for joining us today. We're so excited to be here. Just like my dad said, we have a lot of juicy stuff for you all today. A lot has happened this past week, this first week of August. So we are so ready to get into it, to break it down, and to really just have a conversation with you all. So look, we're live right now. We are live. This is live YouTube, Facebook, all over our social media. So if you have any comments, go ahead and leave a comment on YouTube or on Facebook. We always try to make sure that we get to your comments. We want this to be as interactive, informative, and entertaining as possible. So yeah, Dad, I'm ready to get into it.
Well, let me just ask you before we get into it, how was my favorite daughter's week this week?
My week was really good. My week was good. It was busy, as it always is. We always have something on the table in terms of hearings, mediations, court dates. The firm life was good. Personal life is amazing. Everything's great. How was your week?
Busy, just like you said, as always. We took, a couple of weeks ago, we took, 4 weeks ago, we took a vacation, your mom and I, and we're planning on taking another one. We took a week. We get 2 weeks in the summer. We took the first week. We're going to get the second week, and I'm getting something here about Chloe's mic. Wow. Let me make sure your mic is good, Chloe. Let me make sure your mic is good. It should be good, but I bet it is now. Let me know, you all.
Let's go. Let us know.
Look, the whole issue with her mic and everything else and us not starting on time, I apologize for that. Look, I am the producer, the co-host, all of that. So, look, cut me some slack. Give me some break here. Sometimes things just don't go the way we plan them. But I think I got that fixed now, Chloe. I think your mic should be much better. Please, you all, let us know if it's not. So yeah, I was saying we got another week of vacation coming up sometime this month, God willing. And I think you're also going to be out of town for a few days. Is that right?
That's right. This upcoming week. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
looking
right.
forward
This
to
upcoming week on a very special occasion. We'll keep it on the wraps for right now, but I guess announcement will be made about that in the
Yep.
future.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do it.
Let's go.
So first, let's talk about Terrell Owens. Terrell was involved in an incident. Okay. Come on. What is? Let me change my mic. Let me change my mic. I'm getting some information. Let me see. Is my mic? Is that better? Is that better? And let us know about Chloe's mic too.
Yeah, let us know.
It
Leave a
should be
comment.
good. It should be good though. I fixed it. I fixed it. I fixed it. Yeah, I think you're good. I think you're good. Much better. All right. Just got the word. Much better. Okay, Chloe. So Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Terrell Owens, also known as T.O., the iconic T.O., one of the best wide receivers to ever do it. And that is
Yeah.
no lie. I mean, I'm not stretching that. T.O. was a great wide receiver. So he was involved in a racial profiling case this past week involving a Karen, as he put it. So let's start with the video. All right?
Go.
I'm driving to my mailbox. She telling me I'm speeding, telling me to slow down.
To slow down, and he rolled down his window and he started harassing.
First of all, I didn't harass you. She telling me to slow down. I said, what do you mean slow down? I said, yo, I'm just going to the mailbox. Then she goes, get the fuck out the middle of the road.
Across the street, and you almost hit me.
First of all, I almost hit you. Now you just making up stuff.
No, I literally
Just
said
like
that
a Karen.
at the beginning. You almost hit me.
How did I almost hit you and I'm going to the mailbox?
I was a Karen.
Yeah, I'd call you a Karen when I came over here after you said I called the police. Absolutely. Then you went on to say, oh, I'm the subject of the HOA meeting, this and that and the other. I got liens and shit on my house, this and that and the other. Then you start bringing up my status, who I was, my HBO, my VH1. You the one brought it up, lady. I did it. You did it. You did. First of all, I didn't almost hit her. Sir, no, I'm fine, sir. First of all, I didn't almost hit her.
I understand that. Just relax.
You're not finna sit up here.
He ran the stop sign.
Well, there is no stop sign. What are you talking about?
I understand that. What did you do?
I wasn't, but I asked him to slow down, and he got out of his car and started harassing me. He put his car in park.
Right, because you're going to yell at me and telling me I'm almost hit you, and I didn't.
But you didn't have to get out of your fucking car.
You didn't have to talk to me that way either, Karen.
You're a black man approaching a white woman.
First of all, you had your boy right here, your husband right here. So first of all, I don't do that type of stuff.
Relax.
You did. You put your car in park and you came at me.
First of all, I didn't come at you.
Yes, you did.
You can.
Did you hear the operative words? A black man approaching a white woman?
White woman.
Do we
Yep.
need to go any further with that?
No. And she was just about to start to get into her crocodile tears too. We know that a lot of Karens start that.
We'll go back and let Karen finish that. But
Yeah.
I wanted folks to hear those words. You are a black man approaching the white woman. Duh.
Yeah.
The
She said it out
almighty
loud.
white woman. You
Yeah.
a black man now. Black man, you disgraceful person, you black man. How dare you approach me, a white woman?
Yeah.
Let's tell it like it is. And by the way, that kind of thing gets black men killed. Emmett Till,
Yep.
Ahmaud Arbery, right? There was
Yeah.
not a white woman saying this or that, but there were male Karens,
Yeah.
right? There were male Karens who thought that he was out of place being in their neighborhood.
Karens are not gender specific. There's
right.
male Karens, there's female Karens. A Karen is a Karen. And it was obvious that T.O. is dealing with the Karen in that instance because of those exact words that you just pointed out. Soon as she said it, that it struck something in my head. I mean, it just came into the forefront. So, are we going to play the rest of the encounter?
Yeah, we got a comment on YouTube. We're gonna come back to it in just a moment. Oh, I can't wait to get to that comment. But let me. Okay, let's go ahead and play the comment. I mean, play the rest of the video.
Let's go.
Stop all of that, Karen.
Okay, listen.
Get out of here with all of that.
Listen, if you guys want me here, I can solve it.
He literally came after me.
Here she crying. There's Karen. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Swear to God, I've never been a part of nothing like this. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Do you have your ID?
I've seen it. Yes, I've seen it, but this is firsthand.
And now he's on live.
Oh boy, is she crying? Oh my God, this is real. This is real. This is real. Here you go. Here you go, sir. This is real. This is real. This is real. This is real. I've never seen. I've seen it, but I've never been a part of this. This is real life. And now she's crying. Her husband tried to tell her to go in the house, but now she wanted to do the whole Karen thing. So I'm gonna be here with my camera to show everything. First of all, you need to stop that.
You were speeding through the neighborhood.
He was not. I was in the garage. You're lying now because I was sitting in the garage.
She said I was speed. First of all, I know what you're saying. No, I get you. I got you. No, this is real. This is real life in 2022. This is real life Karen stuff.
She crying.
I've never seen. I've seen it on TV. I've seen it on video, but I've never really been a part of something like this. This is unbelievable. Then she.
Wow. And Chloe, a witness says she's lying.
Yeah.
And T.O. impeached her when he pointed out that there was no stop sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Jay Prince made the comment on YouTube. She said, technically, I guess T.O., made it racial. So you go ahead and respond to that before I do.
So what T.O. did is point out that a white lady, according to him, falsely accused him of following her and running a stop sign. And that is
and almost hitting her. And that falls into a trend of white people, especially white women, calling the police and making false allegations against Black people in this country. He had a right to do that. There's been a trend of it. It's been documented and notated for several instances. So it's not making an incident racial to point out that a white person is falsely accusing someone who's Black, because we know where that typically ends up. But he never said that. He never said anything about her race. I don't understand how he made it racial. All that you just said is so true. First and foremost, there is history here. This is not isolated. There's a long, violent, murderous history of Black people suffering death. The whole Tulsa race riot was over a white woman claiming a Black man assaulted her. So this is not isolated. This is very much a part of the fabric of America. And me as a Black man, I'll be honest with you, 2020, what is this, August 6th? If I had a situation like that with a white woman today, I am a preacher, I'm an attorney, I'm a 60-year-old father of two. If a white woman did that to me today, I would be concerned. When the police rolled up and she started lying on me like she did T.O. She said T.O. ran the red light. There was no red light. She said T.O. was speeding. A witness, an independent witness, refuted it. She said T.O. almost hit her. He denied it. And then she started crying when the police got there. Okay? And she said out of her own mouth, you, a Black man, approaching Me, a white woman.
Yeah.
Yet T.O.'s the one who made it racial.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, Jay Prince. I'm sorry. I don't get that one. Not at all. Maybe Jay Prince is talking about the fact that he called her Karen. Well, if that's the case, if that's what Jay Prince is referring to, T.O. was absolutely right. She was behaving just like a Karen. And I just want to remind everyone again, this is not funny. This is dangerous. Emmett Till was lynched by two white people, two white men, because one of them accused Emmett Till of disrespecting her. All that happened in the Tulsa race riot, and so many instances that I can't even think of. That is the one thing in America that white men have been very clear about. Don't touch or disrespect our women. That's when they go berserk. So
We can do what we want to your women, to black women, but don't touch ours. So, and I commend T.O. for filming the encounter as well. We always tell people, when you are in situations like this, whether you're dealing with the police or a Karen type of situation like this, if you can safely get your camera out and start recording the incident, a lot of times that can save, that can be the evidence that you need to prove that you were a victim of racism. So I commend him for getting his camera out, for filming the incident, so that he can have some proof and be believed whenever the police come or in any situation like this. So that's good that he did that as well.
yes, that is very advisable. Anytime you have these encounters, man, if you don't get that phone out and start videotaping, whatever happened to you may never, ever be redressed. You may never, you may get killed, murdered, shot, maimed, crippled, or what have you, and nothing is done about it unless you got some proof that it went down the way you claimed. All right, now Jay Prince said, if you take race out of it, okay, first of all, this is the United States of America. You can't take race out of anything. Everything about this country is racial. The founding of this country is racial. 250 years of chattel slavery, racial. Taking this land from Native Americans, racial. 150 years of Jim Crow laws, racial. 60 years of systemic racism, racial. Wealth disparities, racial. Educational disparities, racial. Redlining, racial. You can't take race out of this country, unfortunately. I wish we could. But this is the United States of America, the most racist country on the planet. Other nations learn how to be racist from America. So I wish we could, Jay Prince, take race out of it. And Jay Prince goes on to say, people who say something if a white man targeted a black woman too. Of course we would. Absolutely. Then Jay Prince says, I think there are real situations, but I think T.O. is trying to manipulate the situation. I just don't see why T.O. is the culprit here. I just don't get it. T.O. is the victim. The woman falsely accused him of running a red light, falsely accused him of trying to hit her. She said out of her own mouth that, and by the way, Jay Prince goes on to say, her asking him to slow down did not require him to get out of the car and approach her. She had no right. First of all, there was an independent witness who said that he was not speeding. Let's stick to the facts here, Jay Prince. An independent witness said that T.O. was not speeding. So therefore, Karen had no reason to ask T.O. to slow up. And as far as approaching her issue out of her own mouth with T.O. approaching her was because she's a white woman and he's a black man. She said that out of her own mouth. You, a black man, approaching me, a white woman. That was her issue with T.O. She said it. And now, if you're trying to say that T.O. is, not shrinking away from the situation, you're absolutely right. T.O. is, after all, T.O., right? T.O. is not the kind of personality who is going to shrink away from a situation. I mean, so, and I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he did just what you said, Chloe, pulled out his camera and videotaped it, right? And is now pursuing justice. So he's now trying to get a false police report filed against her. I hope he succeeds because this needs to stop. This needs to stop.
Yeah.
All right, one last comment, Chloe. I'm sorry, from Jay Prince. Too many black women are dying out here because no one can say anything to black men. They are above the law. They fight and argue with anyone and everyone that says anything to them. Black men above the law? When I'm speechless with that one.
So, as a black woman coming in, we presume that Jay Prince is a black woman. There are a lot of black women that feel how Jay Prince feels. If you go onto a lot of online forums and listen to videos, there's this divide that's coming up between black men and black women, unfortunately. And I think it's by design. I think it's by the powers that be, that want us to be divided and not to be together. In terms of black men being above the law, I don't know where that's coming from, Jay Prince. I wish we were introducing a feature in which we were going to allow people to call in and make comments. I would have loved to have Jay Prince expound on what she's saying. So maybe we'll introduce that at the next show. So Jay Prince, if you want to expound respectfully about what you're saying and what your perspective is, we may have a line that you can call in and you can tell us more what you're trying to say.
But this is outrageous. And I got to respond to that. This is outrageous to make these accusations against black men like that. Being above the law. Black men are disproportionately prosecuted, disproportionately imprisoned, disproportionately on probation, parole, disproportionately killed by white police officers. Above the law. You want to talk about who's above the law? Look at Donald Trump and his group. Look at rich, wealthy, white men, and you'll see who's above the law. Black men are nowhere near above the law. That's outrageous. And this thing here, too many black women are dying out here because no one can say anything to black men. I don't know that. I don't know where that's coming from. I think she's trying to say that black men are disproportionately abusive. There is no data to support that, first and foremost. Black men are abusive some black men are abusive to women, but so are white men. So are Hispanic men. So are Asian men. So that's an anecdotal statement that is not supported by any sort of studies or research. Again, when you talk about black women being abused by black men quite naturally because we're within the same ethnicity and the same community. Most of the abuse of black women will be by black men, but most of the abuse of white women will be by white men. And most of the abuse of Hispanic women will be by Hispanic men. These statements are not supported by facts. But Jay Prince, like Chloe said, thank you for your comments. But I just have to address them. I can't leave things like that out there. We do this every day. We represent folks in the criminal justice system. If you think black men are above the law, just go into any courthouse and just count the number of black men versus the number of white men. Count the number, and maybe Jay Prince and others will say, well, that's because black men are more criminal. Again, the facts doesn't support that. The facts doesn't support that. All right. If anyone would say that. Okay. All right, Chloe. You being an African American woman, you close us out on this. Jay Prince raised some issues that I had to address, but you may see it different. In fact, you've told me that there is this riff, out in Black Twitter between, sisters having issues with brothers and so on. So close us out on this topic.
There is that riff. That riff shouldn't apply here today. Based on everything that we saw and heard from T.O. and this white woman, she was a Karen. She falsely accused him, like we said at the beginning, of running a stop sign, of trying to harass her, of trying to hit her with the car. And she said out of her mouth, it came from the horse's mouth. When she got upset, what made her upset? She was okay until then. But you heard her get upset and start her crocodile tears when she said, "You a black man approaching me as a white woman." I mean, for me, that nips it in the bud what her intention was. And you can even hear on the video what is presumably her husband telling her to calm down, like, let me handle this, man to man. Yet she wanted to, stay involved, get the crocodile tears, falsely accuse T.O., and escalate the situation. So in this situation, I don't have any sympathy for this woman. I hope that the police potentially file charges against her. I don't see where any of this potential rift between black men or black women apply in this situation at all. And I commend T.O. for not backing down and for recording this situation, because we've been victims of speaking out against racism and discrimination, and the police coming and being arrested and then being told we're playing the black card. So if someone wants to go that way, I don't have any time to hear for that, because I've experienced it myself. We've experienced it, and we know how it can end up. So I commend T.O. for this. My sympathies go out to him.
There is one thing else that Jay Prince says that I want to address, Chloe, before we move on. She says the number of repeat offenders due to bail reform alone refutes what you're saying. Now, that to me tells me probably exactly where Jay Prince is ideologically. Okay? So, Jay Prince, I'd like to know, or do you consider yourself to be a black conservative? Let us know. Respond to that in the comments. If so, there's a certain worldview and ideology that she has, and there is nothing that anyone would be able to say to break through that. Bail reform is like critical race theory. What else? Being woke. These terms are terms that white conservatives and black conservatives typically will jump on. And what's the other one? The other one is defund the police. These are the terms that conservatives will take and use a lot of misinformation around them. In fact, one of the people I hope we talk about today, Alex Jones, is the master at misinformation. and he gets this stuff going and Fox News, and then these people just jump on it. Bail reform is needed when you have poor people in these jurisdictions, Jay Prince, who are often black, who stay locked up in jail, places like Rikers Island and other places across the country, because they don't have the money to get out of jail, whereas the folks with the money, who are typically white, are out of jail within hours. Bail reform is needed.
Yeah.
And
the purpose of bail is, it should not be these people have not even been convicted of any crime. These are allegations and accusations when a person is arrested. There is no finding of guilt. And the purpose of bail reform is not to keep the person in pre the case being presented to a jury and keep them locked up. It is to make sure that they come back to their court dates. That's the purpose.
Right. That's right.
So you give some money to the court, like, hey, I'm telling you, I'm gonna come back to my court dates and face these charges. It should not be an indication that the person is guilty of a crime, because a person under the US law, the Constitution, says that a person is presumed innocent unless proven guilty. So bail reform is needed, and it should not be a way to hold poor people in jail when they have not even been convicted of any crime. So that, I mean, no.
Jay Prince responded and said, no, she's a Democrat. Jay Prince, I didn't ask if you're a Democrat or Republican. I asked if you're a conservative, if you are a black conservative. And by the way, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm neither. And so just so you know that. And there are some comments here on Facebook that I want to get to. All right. So Barry Jenkins says, Karen already had the solution, looking for a problem. I like the way you put that, Mr. Jenkins. Brother Jenkins, you said it right. You said it right. And Barry Jenkins also said, you can't take race out of it. Exactly. I wish we could. I mean, I really, we wouldn't have been enslaved for 250 years. We wouldn't have been dealing with Jim Crow for 150 years. I wish, oh my God, I wish we could take race out of it. But our counterparts refuse to do that. So don't blame that on us. Okay. Now, Jay Prince, in fairness, we got to go on. But Jay Prince says, yeah, she's a Democrat, but she just doesn't like the way some of the things are going in the community. I don't either. Okay, so we agree on that. There are some things that we certainly need to change as a community. Absolutely. But don't let those things cause you to start seeing things like what happened to T.O., from this sort of white conservative perspective. Don't do that. That's where you go wrong, okay? Because there's a certain way they're going to see things. If you start seeing things those ways, you're going to see just what you just saw. The woman with T.O., as Chloe said, literally said out of her own mouth, my issue here is he's a black man approaching me, a white woman. Yet, if you got that certain ideology, that means nothing to you. You're still going to blame T.O. All right, let's move on. Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner. Go ahead, Chloe. Take that for us.
It's such a tragedy that Brittany was sentenced to 9 years. It's a tragedy. It's outrageous that she's become basically a political pawn between the United States and Russia for having a vape pen with less than a gram of marijuana or vape oil or whatever that was in it. I mean, it's horrendous. And I do have to say, it's also unfortunate that this case has gotten some attention, and we've made sure that we've shed light on it on our show, but it has not gotten nearly the amount of attention if she were a LeBron James or if she were some other type of athlete or famous person. So because she is a black woman and a WNBA star, I believe that she did not get her case did not get as much attention from both the public and the United States government as it should have. Now, towards the end, after some protests from her family and friends, President Biden did meet with her family and her partner and all of that. And I'm sure there were things that they were doing behind the scenes, but from the outside looking in and from the amount of attention that the public did not give her case, I think is unfortunate, and it shows again the sometimes lack of importance that black women's lives is faced in this country. Um, in terms of the vape pen here in Texas, and we're going to get into this, Dad. Here in Texas, possessing a vape pen is a felony. If it has marijuana in it.
Well. Let's not. I mean, you threw out something that I think we need to discuss before we get into the specifics of the law here. I agree with you that this 9-year sentence, is absolutely outrageous. But let's talk more about whether if Brittney was LeBron or some male athlete, or Tom Brady. Let's do what Jay Prince recommends. Let's take race out of it. Let's say it was Tom Brady. So just a famous male athlete, would it had gotten more attention? Well, I don't know. I guess I'm not qualified. That's sort of a diplomatic type thing. That's more of international type thing that I'm not privy to. I'm privy to how the criminal justice system works. I know how I've been in that space for a while. But if the point is that black women experience both racism and sexism, absolutely true. I mean, I've been a girl dad over 30 years, okay? And so I know exactly. I've seen some of the racism, Chloe, that you've experienced in the courtroom. We've experienced it together, actually. And I think folks would point out, though, that you got Paul Whelan, who has been in jail now for 3 years. You had I forgot his name, the guy from Fort Worth, the Fort Worth area, who was in jail for a number of months. And Brittney may be getting out soon. But look at what is being done to get her out. The president has reportedly put on the table, this Russian arms dealer who's responsible for murdering people. Yet President Biden has put this guy's release, on the table to get Brittney out of prison, out of Russian prison. So he seems to be giving it high priority in my mind. But you see it different.
I think he is now. I don't think when the story first came out, he did. I remember reading news reports about her family and friends being upset at the lack of attention that the president has made. They have, played behind the scenes for the government to get involved. So after that meeting that her partner had with the president, that's when he kind of got some oomph under him to try to, trade the Russian arms dealer, etc. But I don't think at first. I think he had to be pressured into it. And I think that contrasts with a male athlete. If it were a male athlete who were in the same situation, I don't think he would have had to been pushed to do what the president is doing now to try to get her release.
Well, but the guy from the Fort Worth area, his family was saying the same thing, that the president was not giving his case any attention. And then once he visited here in Fort Worth, then they were able to get an audience with him, you know, and they say that was the reason why they were eventually able to get their son out quicker, you know. So you got a white family who is saying the very same thing, that their loved one was not getting top priority. And let me say this too: we've been pushing to get Brittany out of Russia for ever since this has been going on. But let me tell you, when our country start trading dangerous people like this guy, this Russian dude, there is the risk, the great risk, the probable risk of countries like Russia kidnapping and arresting even more Americans because they know that they can bargain with those people. So it on one hand it endangers people's lives. Now, of course, you know, wanting to get Brittany out, and we've been pushing it and so on. Let's bring her home. Let's get her home. Let's get her home. Absolutely. But if I, you know, folks who are traveling abroad, I think you all need to be really, really, really very careful. You know, you need to be very careful because of what message trading Brittany out for this dangerous arms dealer, what message it sends to countries like Russia.
Yeah. I mean, and look, it was not wise for her to have the vape pen and to take it over there to Russia, period.
Do we have
I
proof
mean,
that she actually had a vape pen?
well, she pled guilty to it, but we don't know whether she actually had a vape pen.
Well, she pled guilty to it, but look, if you're in a Russian jail and your lawyers say, "Hey, there's no chance of you getting out of here except you plead guilty and we try to get you a deal worked out." I'm just wanting to see what she says when she gets back, and she's free. I would love to see.
Yeah, me too. Me
I mean,
too.
I just don't believe Russia. This is the same country that was bombing Ukraine and saying they weren't bombing Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm highly cynical of Russia. I'm highly cynical of our own government. So, I mean,
True. True.
I mean, I'm so I just pray that she is able to come home. They're able to work something out. But I do acknowledge the dangers of this could happen potentially more because Russia and other countries know that we've started this pattern of, you know, trading dangerous people for Americans. So we'll see where it goes.
So some other comments on YouTube. Jay Prince says, "I'd rather put more money into creating more black attorneys and paying for education." I think she's saying in lieu of putting money in bail reform. I think we need both. I think we
Yeah.
need all of that. I agree with you. More black attorneys, black professionals, black engineers, black teachers, so on and so on, and definitely education. I agree with you on that, Jay Prince. And we appreciate your comments, although I just had to respond to them. Let's see. Chauncey Baba, do you know how many Americans are in foreign jails for drugs? I don't. I don't. Do you, Chloe?
I don't have know any statistics or evidence of that.
Diana Graham asks, do you practice law in Indiana? I need a lawyer for medical malpractice, wrongful death for my husband. Well, let me just say first and foremost, we send our deepest condolences to you, Miss Graham, for the death of your husband. We absolutely, certainly do. We practice certain types of cases all over the country. By the way, we're licensed in Texas, but certain types of cases we do practice all over the country, or we can get you, Miss Graham, in contact with someone there, and we can work with them on your case. So, I just give our office a call. just give us a call, 469-726-2626. Call us Monday morning, 469-726-2626, and we'll talk about it. I'm a little chagrined to talk about it during this broadcast, though. But again, our heartfelt condolences to you and your family for the loss of your husband.
Yes.
All right. Chauncey Baba, a lot, but they are not famous like she is. The war on drugs has been a total failure. A public health approach is the only sane solution. That said, she was going to Russia. What was she thinking? My wife points out she said it was prescribed by a doctor, and she was rushing to get to the airport. Chauncey Baba says, sadly, it's not up to America. That's true. And I think that's a beautiful segue into what you were getting ready to get into, Chloe, just kind of contrasting how Brittany's case would be handled in Texas, for example.
Yeah. In Texas, possessing a vape pen is a felony. But it would be highly unlikely that she would get a 9-year sentence. And the way that felonies work in Texas, they are divided up into different categories. The worst being capital felony, which is where the death penalty is on the line, all the way down to what we call a state jail felony, which is where a person, if convicted or pleads guilty, could get up to 2 years in a state jail. Based on what we know about the amount that she supposedly had in the vape pen or allegedly had, here in Texas, it may have been charged as like a state jail felony, maybe third degree, but that's hard to say. If it were a state jail felony, she would not, and if it was not enhanced, she would not be given a 9-year sentence, because the maximum sentence for a state jail, like I said before, is up to 2 years in a Texas state jail. And what would have likely happened if the charges were not dismissed, she probably would have been put on probation. So that just is highly contrasted to a 9-year sentence in Russia for having a vape pen with just a tiny bit, allegedly, of some vape oil. So that's why we think it's outrageous. And look, Texas is not California. Texas is not Colorado, and Texas is not Washington or Oregon in terms of the way they view these drug offenses and being more progressive about them. Texas is actually, pretty conservative. But on that issue, even in a state like Texas, she would not likely have been convicted and sentenced to 9 years in a Texas state prison.
Yeah, like you said, she would have got probation.
Yeah.
Especially, as you said, if it was her first offense and it was not enhanceable, probation. And the fact that she said through her lawyer that it was prescribed, once again, as you indicated, Chloe, it probably would have been dismissed.
Yeah. And probation in Texas, there's two different types of probation. I'm not going to get into the details, the specific details, but one type of probation is if she completed all of her probation terms, the court would have dismissed the case, and it would not end up in a conviction on her record, which she then could potentially get sealed off of her record. So it would have been likely completely different if this were to occur in Texas versus Russia.
Right. Now, Chauncey Baba says, she says, but she's in Russia, not Texas, with an exclamation mark. Yeah, we know that, Chauncey, Miss Baba, but what we're doing here is we're showing how outrageous 9 years is for having such a small amount of drugs, if she indeed had those drugs. Outrageous because the punishment far, 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 far exceeds what she's alleged to have done. And then if she had a prescription, we know she's an athlete. They suffer all types of injuries and so on. It's completely reasonable that this was something prescribed. So uh, yeah, she's in Russia, and unfortunately, she's in Russia facing these consequences. But we're pointing out that this is outrageous. This
Yeah, we're
is
just
an
trying to show the
injustice.
contrast. Yeah,
Exactly.
we're showing the contrast. And the
Exactly.
contrast shows that it's outrageous. So, and I want to go back to what you said, that some people may think, well, she pled guilty, so she deserves to get the maximum sentence. People plead guilty for all types of reasons. Just because someone pleads guilty does not mean that they actually committed the offense. And we know that as criminal defense attorneys, people take plea deals for a whole host of reasons. And that is one of the inequities that we always talk about in the criminal system over here in America. Because oftentimes Black men, Black people are giving these harsh plea deals, and because they may be in jail because they can't afford bail. Going back to Jay Prince's comment, they take a plea deal, plead guilty. They may have mental health issues, all types of reasons why a person would take a plea deal and plead guilty, even though they didn't actually commit the crime. So I wanted to just highlight that too.
Yes. Okay. I think that is all that we have for the Brittany Griner case. We do believe that she'll be coming out soon, but our country is going to pay a heavy price for it. And I'm not saying that in opposition. I want to see Brittany come home. I am saying, though, you may want to delay that trip to some of these countries where you have these bandits, these gangs who, will get the bright idea, hey, we kidnapped this American, they will give us whatever. Like that happened recently in Haiti, right? Remember, just a few months ago, a bunch of missionaries, white missionaries, were kidnapped by some gangs in Haiti, and it was handled quietly. I don't know if money was paid or not, but probably. My point is that trading Americans for, criminals that we have locked up here from other countries, it just increases danger a little bit. I say that, though, not in opposition to Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan coming home. Bring them home. Bring them home. Absolutely. Bring them home. I could not imagine what they're going through.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Dave Chappelle joke that I heard once, where it's not funny. It's not funny, but he made a joke why terrorists or kidnappers don't kidnap Black people, because the American government won't come get it. It's not funny. I mean, it's hilarious, but it just reminds me of that situation. In terms of the contrast, I feel.
Dave is wrong, because look at what the government is doing for this Black woman.
Yeah, I mean, that's an old joke, probably early 2000s.
Oh, okay. All right.
So.
But yeah, no, Dave is right. Our lives are not valued like other people. So yeah, I get it. All right. This is the story that we've been waiting to get to. Breonna Taylor. This is the story. I want to open this up, Chloe, by saying one thing. Elections have consequences.
Yep.
And I say that for this reason. When Black folks got out there, and I want to say first, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. These are just facts. When Black folks got out there and helped Joe Biden become president, that led Joe Biden to appoint this man, Merrick Garland, over the United States Justice Department. Okay? Now, when this man was appointed over the Department of Justice, he in turn appointed this woman to be the Assistant Attorney General over Civil Rights. Her name is Kristen Clarke. And so that is the position that she now holds. She is over the Civil Rights Department of the Justice Department. And there is no doubt that because Ms. Clarke is now over that office, we ended up with these 4 people being charged with federal hate crimes. All because elections have consequences. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be quiet. So when you hear black people saying, voting doesn't matter, what does it matter to vote, especially during midterms? Or what is voting going to do for me? Voting has consequences. From picking up your trash, to money spent in your child's school, to what crimes are felonies, to who represents you in the U.S. Congress, to student loans, so forth and so on. It is asinine to say that voting doesn't matter. Now I'm done.
Ms. Clarke is impressive. Let me just say that. That is one impressive attorney. Ms. Clarke, before she took this post as Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, she sued the Proud Boys, which we know is a supremacist, hatist organization, after they attacked the Metropolitan AME Church, historically black church, and other churches in Washington, D.C. She said, quote, "Black churches and other religious institutions have a long and ugly history of being targeted by white supremacists and racist and violent attacks meant to intimidate and create fear. Our lawsuit aims to hold those who engage in such action accountable." She represented a black young woman who was the student body president at American University in a landmark case against white supremacists at American University. So this is the type of person that Attorney General Merrick Garland put in place to head the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice. And because of that, yes, because of that, because he was appointed by President Biden, we now have charges against these 4 officers, 2 of which who have been alleged to lie in a search warrant that led to police officers going to Breonna Taylor's home.
Well, I got the video, Chloe. Let's play a little bit of it and hear it directly from
Yes.
Ms. Clarke and Attorney General Garland.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Earlier today, I spoke with the family of Breonna Taylor. This morning, they were informed that the Justice Department has charged 4 current and former Louisville Metro Police Department officers with federal crimes related to Ms. Taylor's death. Those alleged crimes include civil rights offenses, unlawful conspiracies, unconstitutional use of force, and obstruction offenses. The 4 defendants were charged through 2 separate indictments and 1 information. I'm going to begin today by discussing the civil rights offenses that stem from the falsification of a search warrant. We allege that these offenses resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. These charges focus on the conduct of the Louisville Metro Police Department's place-based investigations unit.
Before we go further, Chloe, because he's getting ready to get into exactly what you're talking about, we're going to have your mother get on the line and talk with us about this because she has some very strong feelings about this. So, sweetheart, if you would go ahead and call me, I'm going to bring you in and we all can listen to Merrick Garland and hear your comments afterwards. So, if you would go ahead and give me a call. All right, here we go. Okay, hold on. Let me get you in. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Tony? Okay, we can't hear you. Let me fix that. I'm going to play Merrick Garland, and I'll fix that while we are listening to Attorney General Garland.
In the first indictment filed today, we allege that in early 2020, that unit was investigating suspected drug trafficking in the West End of Louisville. On March 12, 2020, officers from that unit sought 5 search warrants they claimed were related to the suspected drug trafficking. 4 of those warrants targeted properties in the West End where that activity was allegedly occurring. A 5th search warrant was for Breonna Taylor's home, which was approximately 10 miles away from the West End. The federal charges announced today allege that members of the Place-Based Investigations Unit falsified the affidavit used to obtain the search warrant of Ms. Taylor's home, that this act violated federal civil rights laws, and that those violations resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. Specifically, we allege that Ms. Taylor's Fourth Amendment rights were violated when defendants Joshua Janes, Kyle Meany, and Kelly Goodlatte sought a warrant to search Ms. Taylor's home knowing that the officers lacked probable cause for the search. We allege that the defendants knew the affidavit in support of that warrant contained false and misleading information and that it omitted material information. Among other things, the affidavit falsely claimed that officers had verified that the target of the alleged drug trafficking operation had received packages at Ms. Taylor's address. In fact, defendants Janes and Goodlatte knew that was not true. We further allege that defendants Janes and Meany knew the search warrant would be carried out by armed LMPD officers and that conducting that search could create a dangerous situation for anyone who happened to be in Ms. Taylor's home. As outlined in the charging documents, the officers who ultimately carried out the search at Ms. Taylor's apartment were not involved in the drafting of the warrant and were unaware of the false and misleading statements it contained. When those officers executed the search warrant, Ms. Taylor was at home with another person who was in lawful possession of a handgun. When officers broke down the door to Ms. Taylor's apartment, that person, believing that intruders were breaking in, immediately fired 1 shot, hitting the first officer at the door. 2 officers immediately fired a total of 22 shots into the apartment. One of those shots hit Ms. Taylor in the chest and killed her. We allege that the defendants knew their actions in falsifying the affidavit could create a dangerous situation, and we allege these unlawful acts resulted in Ms. Taylor's death. The charges announced today also allege that the officers responsible for falsifying the affidavit that led to the search took steps to cover up their unlawful conduct after Ms. Taylor was killed. We allege that defendants Janes and Goodlatte conspired to knowingly falsify an investigative document that was created after Ms. Taylor's death. We also allege that they conspired to mislead federal, state, and local authorities who were investigating the incident. For example, we allege that in May 2020, those 2 defendants met in a garage where they agreed to tell investigators a false story. This indictment separately alleges that defendant Meany lied to the FBI during its investigation of this matter. Another indictment filed today alleges that after Ms. Taylor was shot, another LMPD officer, defendant Brett Hankison, moved from the doorway to the side of her apartment and fired 10 more shots through a window and a sliding glass door, both of which were covered with blinds and curtains. Defendant Hankison has been charged with 2 civil rights offenses, alleging that he willfully used unconstitutionally excessive force while acting in his official capacity as an officer. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clarke will speak more about that aspect of the case. As in any case, the charges we announced today are allegations, and all defendants.
Okay, let's see if I have my wife on the line. Are you there, Tony?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Chloe.
We hear you loud and clear. Okay, couple things real quick. First of all, my blood is boiling listening to these allegations. But on the other hand, as a criminal defense attorney, I must say that these defendants are presumed innocent until the government proves their guilt. Okay? So we want to say
Yes.
that these are allegations. They have not been proven true beyond the reasonable doubt standard in criminal cases. So for now, these officers are presumed guilty.
Innocent.
And pardon me, innocent. Thank you. We got a troll on YouTube commenting and says, this troll, I'm just going to put it out here because this just kind of shows you what we're talking about. This troll, and he goes by the name of Adam, says, enjoy jail, Brittany Griner. And then Adam goes on to say, to throw a little bit more in there, no one give a blank about Breonna Taylor. So that's the sort of thing that we're up against here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's why I read it. That's what we're up against. And it proves, that's why I was saying earlier, this is the most racist country on the planet. This one right here, because of people like Adam. Okay. Just like people like Adam. All right. That said, sweetheart, I know where you want to go with this, and I feel it too. Please go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you for taking my call. I first want to say to Breonna Taylor's mother and her family, I'm so glad that they have seen some progress in the investigation of their daughter's death, first of all. But yes, I'm infuriated because I know the Attorney General and state officials and local law enforcement and everyone involved in investigation on a state level. To me, it appears that they did not do their due diligence in investigating this matter on a state level.
And you're being kind right now, quite frankly. You're being kind to say that they did not do their due diligence, right? I mean, you could go as far as saying they tried to cover this up, but I'm
yes.
I want to put words in your mouth.
Yes, well, yes, I'm not saying it the way I feel it.
No, please say it how you feel it. That's why we got you up here.
I think it's a crime and a shame, and I think somebody there.
Now your mom went all the way back to the country. She said a crime and a shame. I mean,
brought the North Carolina out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was trying to restrain that, but no, I think it is a crime. It should be a crime, and it is a shame if those local officials did not properly investigate, or more so than that, covered up the truth. If this comes, if this ends up being the truth, like you said, these are allegations. That's what Attorney Garland kept saying. These are allegations. But for these people to take oaths, for the Attorney General there in Kentucky to take an oath, a sworn oath, for the law enforcement officers to take an oath, and now it's alleged all of this lying went on and cover up. Yeah, I'm very upset. It's very disturbing. And it has just so dampened my the way I used to respect the law, because I'm married to an attorney, my daughter's an attorney, and I used to just hear from you all the time, well, we are a nation, the rule of law, the rule of law. And I'm like, okay, whenever we can get justice, let's applaud, because so many times justice is not observed when it comes to these racial matters.
Were you able to hear what Merrick Garland was saying? The allegations?
Yes, I heard the allegations. I heard the allegations.
Did you hear him
it
say
was lie on top of lie, cover up on top of cover up. And if they lied, if they went to a judge or a magistrate or whomever they went to and they knowingly
allegedly
misled, allegedly knowingly misled that official to get the signature on that affidavit to go and on that warrant, correct me with my terminology, but to go and search her home, if they allegedly knowingly knew they were misleading that judge, that's just awful, because it totally led to her death, allegedly.
I wonder if the DOJ should have brought manslaughter charges or something against these officers.
Well, let's just see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
It gives me chills to hear him lay out these allegations, and they are just that, allegations. To hear him lay out these allegations, knowing, and I want to go to a comment that Mr. Latier made in just a second, that they went and swore out this affidavit, and knowing that they were creating a very dangerous situation, because they were going guns ready, with a full head of steam. After
no knock.
Say it again.
No knocking on the door.
Yeah, no knock warrant. That's right. Thank you for bringing that out. So they knew someone could get in fact killed. I mean, they knew that, and yet, according to DOJ, they lied in a sworn affidavit.
And even after that, according to the DOJ, after Breonna Taylor was killed, 2 of the officers met in a garage or something, and they conferred together and said, basically, we're going to be in trouble. We need to get our story straight. And they proceeded to delete text messages and stuff after she was killed, because they knew that they messed up.
See, you and me, Chloe, we know this happens all the time, because we're attorneys. We go up against law enforcement all the time, and it's not all of them, but it's a lot of them. And I remember my first year of law school, Professor Irvin Joyner, I went to NCCU School of Law. He said something that was astounding to me. I'll never forget it. Not to me, but to the class. He says some of the most lying, dishonest people that you're ever going to deal with in your practice. And I thought he was going to say criminals. He said police officers. And when he said that, I got a little bit offended, quite frankly. I mean, I know how awful police officers can be with black folks especially. But still, something in my mind was like most Americans, and that is, police are honest people, and so on. So when he said that, it took me aback. But man, after 15 years of practicing law, it is true. It really is true. And whether these officers are guilty of these allegations, we don't know yet. But my God, if they did these things, like Tony is saying, I mean, what kind of confidence does that leave anyone in the law? I mean, for sworn police officers, I mean, that's like Chloe, like you were indicating, Chloe, that's like murder. I mean, it's not really murder, because it's not the intent necessarily, but it's something, some kind of homicide. It's awful. Let me just put it's heinous. Let me put it like that. Let me use a moral term. It's heinous. All right. Now, Mr. Latier says, and I so agree with this comment, imagine how many times warrants, affidavits, and other documents were falsified without getting caught or questioned. Makes me want to throw up. Yes, I think Mr. Latier feels it the way we feel it, Tony.
Yes, that's exactly the way it makes me feel. Yes, I totally agree. Thank you for that comment, because that's the way I feel.
Okay, so a little bit more of the video, and then we're gonna kind of rein this in a little bit. It's been an hour and 15
And
minutes.
before you go to the video, I do want to say I
yes.
totally agree. I totally agreed. I'm glad you brought up that elections do have consequences. So I really hope we educate our family members, friends, neighbors, co-workers. No, elections have consequences. Because if there had been another type of DOJ, these charges would not have been brought. The investigation would have been concluded without coming to these charges. So I definitely want people to stop saying that, well, I don't see where it helps. No, elections definitely have consequences.
And I want to highlight something you said, and that is the AG of the state of Kentucky, an African-American man, Daniel Cameron, I believe his name is. How is it that he investigated these cases for all these, for months, maybe a year or two, and he didn't see any of this? He didn't catch any of this. Now, again,
exactly.
Yeah. Again, now these are allegations, but if proven true, how did he miss all this? And it shows you one other thing too, that quite often, and going back to elections, we have to rely on the federal judiciary, the federal judges, the federal benches to give us justice. Because on a state and local level, oftentimes we don't get it. We don't get it.
That's why my ears perk up when I hear. Oh, sorry, Mom.
Go on, Chloe.
No, go ahead, Mom, please.
No, go on. I was going to say, yes, that's what history tells us. We had to rely upon the federal government to come in. So if you got the wrong type of administration holding office on the federal level, then where do you go to get the justice? That's why elections do matter.
Yeah,
that's why my ears.
Go ahead, Chloe. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that's why my ears perk up when I hear people make state rights arguments, because we know the Black community has had to rely so much on the federal government to get the rights and to get justice that we've seen throughout the years. And I did want to read a statement by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. He released a statement.
Okay, good. Please, what is his statement?
He said, quote, "Today, President Biden's Department of Justice brought federal civil rights charges against 4 individuals in connection with the death of Ms. Breonna Taylor. As in every prosecution, our office supports the impartial administration of justice, but it is important that people not conflate what happened today with the state law investigation undertaken by our office. Our primary task was to investigate whether the officers who executed the search warrant were criminally responsible for Ms. Taylor's death under state law. At the conclusion of our investigation, our prosecutors submitted the information to a state grand jury, which ultimately resulted in criminal charges being brought against Mr. Brett Hankinson for wanton endangerment. I'm proud of the work of our investigation and prosecutors. This case and the loss of Ms. Taylor's life have generated national attention. People across the country are grieved, and there isn't a person I've spoken to across our 120 counties that isn't saddened by her loss." And then it goes on. But what stands out to me in the statement,
that's bull.
Yes. He took the words out of my mouth. First of all, he points out that this is President Biden's Department of Justice. So again, Daniel Cameron is a Black conservative. He's a Republican. So he's pointing out, he's giving dog whistles to his base This is President Biden, y'all. So y'all know what's gonna come with some wokeness. Y'all know they're against police officers. He's connecting all of that to the Democrats. And then he says, he doesn't say police officers, he says against 4 individuals. Again, he's trying to distance himself from these alleged actions of police officers because they claim to back the blue until it's Capitol Police and they don't want to do anything for them. But anyway, so that's another thing that stood out to me, the first part of his statement. And then the rest of the statement, he's just trying to justify what happened with their investigation and why more criminal charges were not brought against the officers. So in total, it's bull.
and yes, it is bull. And also, listen at his statement very carefully. He says that the state investigation was all about whether or not they carried out the search warrant lawfully. So he did not comment on how they obtained the search warrant. And it's bull because in any jurisdiction, if you lie on a search warrant, a sworn search warrant, that should have definitely been a part of his investigation.
Yep.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So no criminality went on the state level? That's crazy.
So in other words, his office was only concerned with whether the search warrant was carried out lawfully, not whether the search warrant itself was lawful.
That's a good distinction.
It is perjury. It is perjury in any jurisdiction to lie under oath. And that's what a search warrant is. You are swearing to the judge or magistrate that the information you're giving is in fact true to the best of your knowledge.
Right.
And if the AG
that's one of the I'm sorry.
If the AG is now alleging that they willfully, wantonly, knowingly lied to the magistrate, then that's something the state investigation should have caught. But again, these are allegations only.
Mom?
Yes, and so to me, what I have noticed, the pattern is in all of these jurisdictions, they do not take perjury as seriously as they should. I mean, there have been other cases where police have knowingly lied on a sworn affidavit and nothing happens. So to me, as a non-lawyer, as a layperson, just as a regular American citizen, I'm like, but if I lie on an application or something, you lie on your taxes, you get something done. But for police officers who are supposed to be these public servants, they take an oath, they can just lie, and it's just nothing's done to them. That's another point I would want to bring up. And that's not just in Louisville, that's all over the country. Well, the police chiefs, to me, those in leadership, have not adequately say, under no certain terms do you normally go and lie on an affidavit.
All right, so let me comment on that. So having done this a minute, we as the attorneys who are either, say, representing a criminal defendant, or if we are representing a family in a case like this, we're going to look at all of that. Excuse me. We're going to look at every bit of that. But there are some limitations with what we can do, right? For example, we have a case now in El Paso. We're not given anything. We don't have hardly any documents to review what was done. So that could be the case with Breonna Taylor's family attorneys. I think Ben Crump is representing his family, right?
Yeah, he was.
So I know, we all know that Attorney Crump is an excellent civil rights lawyer. And I'm sure his office left no stone unturned. But here's the thing. Again, quite often these local and state officials will hide the ball.
And that's my point. That was I was going to ask that, but shouldn't the prosecutors, if it's a crime and Breonna Taylor was a victim, they're supposed to be an advocate for the victim. The prosecutors should have been trying to find out all of this information or prosecuting police officers for lying on a sworn affidavit.
And yeah, and those
That's my question.
that is true. I mean, prosecutors are their job. Chloe was a prosecutor, and Chloe, y'all's job when you were a prosecutor was to seek justice, right?
Yeah.
Not
In
convictions, but in theory, exactly. And now we don't know what the prosecutors were trying to do on the local level, the county level in Kentucky. For whatever reason, Daniel Cameron took over the case, or maybe in Kentucky under Kentucky law, all such cases go to the attorney general. I don't know how it ended up with him. My point is, we don't know what the local prosecutors were trying to do. It could have been, hey, they were they may have saw some things, and that's when Cameron swept in and took the case. So we don't know. But I'm trying to point out that when you have the responsibility of looking back over what the police said and what they did and what they alleged in search warrants and all of that, it's hard to do that if the prosecuting authorities don't release that information to you.
Yeah. And just to go back to the prosecutors, Mama's comments about the prosecutors real quick. Look, it's such a precarious and delicate relationship between the prosecutors and police officers, because you need police officers to write police reports and have these affidavits to prosecute your case. But at the same time, when I was a prosecutor, I used to get frustrated with the police officers a lot, because if they did not, write their police reports correctly or accurately, or if the citation was written wrong, I would have to dismiss the case, even though I felt like I had a good case. So to your point, Dad, we don't know what the local district attorneys or ADAs felt. They could have been frustrated if they found out some information that was conflicting, etc. But it is a precarious relationship for those two reasons. One, you get frustrated because if the police officers do shoddy work, I had to dismiss a bunch of cases because of that. And then two, you have to rely on these same police officers that you might be prosecuting to come back and give you good quality investigation so that you can prosecute your cases. So it's kind of a fragile situation and relationship as well.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I understand that.
One last comment from you, Tony.
Well, I'm glad you all have brought this out and you all are discussing it. I just feel like the commenter on YouTube, it just makes me want to throw up just hearing this, and that it had to take place on the federal level, and nothing was brought up about this on the state level. I understand it was, allegations of Ms. Taylor's civil rights being violated allegedly, but still nothing came out about any of this, the way they obtained the search warrant or anything else. None of that came up on the state level. So it just really is concerning to me that we have these state officials who take all of these different sworn oaths, but yet they tend to be just more political positions than actually wanting justice.
Well, very well said, and we thank you for joining us and adding your perspective, and especially because you've been, walking around the house driving home the point that elections have consequences.
Yeah.
So thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Mom. And you would know because you had to swear oath as well. So I'm sure this hits deeply for you as well in your professional career.
I work closely with police officers, just like you, Chloe, when you were a prosecutor as a social worker and child welfare. Yes, I mean, that's how we got a lot of our referrals were from police reports or police raids, and they would call us. So I worked very closely with police. So this is not a police basher moment, but it's just that the expectation, we have to keep it high, that those who take sworn statements should abide by them, or there should be some, accountability there.
Well, both of
Yes.
y'all were sellouts until you saw the light. So thank you.
We need more on that side,
Yes,
Dad.
so now I'm free.
Yeah, that was a joke. That was a joke. Joke. Jokey. And this is not a joking matter, but I was joking.
Right.
All right. But sweetheart, thank
Okay.
you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay, so as we close this out, Chloe, I do want to hear for just a second from Kristen Clarke, right? Because she's really the person who is behind these charges. All right.
Yes.
So just a hot
Let's listen.
second.
Yes.
Are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Independent from these criminal charges, a separate team from the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division is conducting a civil investigation into whether the Louisville Metro Police Department is engaging in a pattern or practice of law enforcement misconduct. We're looking at whether the LMPD uses excessive force, improper searches, or racially discriminatory policing. That ongoing investigation is separate from today's charges. In closing, I extend condolences to Breonna Taylor's family and loved ones. Today, we acknowledge the loss of her life. We recognize her dignity and recommit ourselves to the pursuit of justice.
And it's noted she is the first woman to lead the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice.
Oh, black or white?
Black or white.
Or otherwise.
Yeah.
And there's something she said that I forgot to mention that I want to bring special attention to, and that is she announced there, she said that not only are there criminal charges, but the DOJ will also be looking at whether or not there's a pattern, okay, and whether there are patterns and practices of the Louisville Police Department discriminating and doing these kinds of things. So there may be not only charges and maybe convictions, for these charges with the officers, but the whole department may be entering into some sort of consent decrees with DOJ to reform them. So we'll see how all of that works out. Let me say once again, these officers are presumed innocent. None of us know whether they are guilty of these crimes or not. They are presumed innocent. Right now, they stand presumed, and as a criminal defense lawyer, I believe very strongly in the presumption of innocence. We have folks that we represent who are accused of things by information or by indictment, and we insist that unless the state can prove their guilt, that they're presumed innocent. So I just wanted to make sure we brought that out again, Chloe. So I think we had Alex Jones teed up. Let me just play a clip of his situation from this week. That didn't work. That didn't work, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it because
your studio is dope, though.
Thank you. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
I'm not seeing all of the comments for some reason, but I did see one now from Mr. Latier. I applaud her in that separate investigation as well. We do too. We applaud. Ms. Clarke.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. LaPierre. All right, let's try it again. If you see the backside of my studio, you all, it is what it is. I don't believe that. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I had it teed up at the part of this Alex Jones trial where it was kind of funny, where the plaintiff's attorney informed Alex Jones that Alex Jones' attorneys had inadvertently sent the plaintiff's attorneys Alex Jones text messages for 2 years. All of his text messages for 2 years.
Yikes.
Inadvertently sent that to the plaintiff's attorneys. And now it's my understanding the January 6th commission want to get those text messages and maybe the DOJ. And so there's no telling where that's going to go. But we all know that Alex Jones just does these conspiracy theories and all of this stuff that we've been hearing over the past years. It's Alex Jones and InfoWars that keeps putting this stuff out there that you end up hearing other people just repeating what this guy is saying. And most horrific was him saying that the Sandy Hook killing of those children was all made up. With actors and all of that. And so the jury forced him a rule that he has to pay just one family, and there are other cases coming, $49 million and some change. Yep. So, wow.
And guys, I mean, the fact that his attorneys turned over his text messages to the Sandy Hook parents is crazy. Okay, make sure you all read about that case. A Texas jury did that, awarded the Sandy Hook families. I think it was 2 families that were the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. $4.1 million in compensatory damages and $45 million in punitive damages to send a message. That's what punitive damages are. You want to send a message to the defendant.
That's right.
And I'm sure that Alex Jones got that message loud and clear. So,
and you make a good point, Claude, that this is a Texas jury. This is not a New York, California jury. This is a Texas jury. So they must have really got infuriated hearing all this stuff about what Jones did to this family.
Yeah. Yep. And he's made a lot of money, harming these families by denying Sandy Hook, by saying all of these crazy theories. The plaintiffs brought in an economic expert who testified about just the hundreds of millions of dollars that Alex Jones made through InfoWars with all of these conspiracy theories and lies, which is just insane.
He put all kind of lies out there. He was part of the birtherism with Obama. He trafficked in this lie that Michelle Obama's a transvestite. Stop the steal. All of this stuff came through InfoWars. I mean, it was his mind, his demented mind, and his machine that was putting this stuff out. And when he would start saying it, then you'd start hearing a lot of these conservatives saying this stuff, repeating. It became their talking points between them and between him and Fox News, right? So I'm happy for this family because I couldn't imagine going through the last 20 years hearing somebody belittle the death of your child like that. So, okay. Well, that is the end of our show today. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate J. Prince with her comments. Appreciate Ms. Graham. I appreciate Barry Jenkins. I appreciate Mr. Latier, and all the other commenters and so forth, you folks who tuned in today. It was an exciting show. We're going to bring it to you every week. Unlike anything you get on social media. Okay, we're gonna keep it entertaining, but we're also gonna inform you as well. We're gonna educate you about the law for real, and it's all gonna come from an African American perspective, unapologetic. Okay, so be back with us next week, 2:00. That's the goal. You know, sometimes it's just me producing this stuff, so it may be after 2, but that's the goal. Every week, 2:00. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, help us grow the channel. Let's see. Mr. Latier said he never heard of Alex Jones. Yes, he's been out there. Wrecking havoc. He's been out there.
Literally.
Okay, so let's see. I believe that is all I want to say. We are going to be uploading videos throughout the week, short videos, so you all watch out for that. But our flagship show is Saturdays between 2 and 3. We're thinking about actually doing it at another time, if another time is more convenient for you all. As a matter of fact, comment on that. If you think it would be better if it was another time other than Saturday afternoon. You know, sometimes we know you're doing all kind of stuff on Saturday. I don't know. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Okay? We enjoyed it. Peace.
Peace.
Soul. And love.